What's going on, guys? It's your boy LQ, Mr. Real Deal Fantasy HQ, and welcome to another great episode of RotoBaller Fantasy Sports YouTube channel. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe. Week 17 championship week. Bold prediction sleepers. I got some guys that I'm probably going to hit on that you have some questions about that you probably on the fence about, or some guys you were not thinking about. So I don't want to waste any more time. So let's get right into the episode. First up, we got Zamir White going up against this Colts defense now, with or without Josh Jacobs suiting up this week. The bold prediction here is that Zamir White can still find some fantasy relevance. I think his floor is 10 fantasy points. I know that's not a lot for the fantasy championship, so we're hoping that, fingers crossed that Josh Jacobs doesn't play. But with this matchup against the Colts defense, in the last 4 games, they've been allowing the third most rushing yards, 6 rushing touchdowns, and they've been top 3 in missed tackles on run. Zamir White has looked explosive out of the backfield with the workload he's been getting. So we're hoping and praying that Josh Jacobs doesn't suit up. But like I said, with or without them, I think he could find some fantasy relevance with this favorable matchup against the Colts. Next up, I got Ezekiel Elliott showing up and showing out for fantasy managers, scoring big just based on volume and his target share. Now, Ramondre Stevenson has been placed on IR if you've been living under a rock, so it's Zeke's backfield for the rest of the season. Now, he's been averaging 17 fantasy points per game, and he's second in targets among running backs in the last 4 games. So with this type of volume and production out of the backfield in the passing game, this Bills defense actually top 10 in receptions allowed to running backs. So the defense looks scary on paper, but if Zeke is utilized in the backfield as a pass catcher, we can see Zeke put up some big points this week. So I got him as a sleeper, and he's in a couple of my starting lineups for the championships that I'm playing this week. Bounce back game for Patrick Mahomes. Now, I've been talking about Patrick Mahomes for the last couple of weeks, but I think this is the game where he get right, where everything will be all forgotten, because this is the layup matchup he's been waiting for, and he honestly needs it to save some fantasy managers if they happen to make it to the fantasy championship this week. But the Bengals, they're top 5 in passing yards allowed. They're still allowing the most big plays. That's completions of 20-plus yards and rushes of 10-plus yards. So this will be a game where everything will be all forgotten, and fantasy managers, I know it's a little scary putting them in your starting lineups, but if you have nobody else, you kind of got to ride with them, because the upside is there this week with this Bengals defense not being able to complete tackles. And like I said, they're still allowing large chunk plays to happen. So I can see Patrick Mahomes scoring big, and I'm going to say he's going to score more than 20 fantasy points this week. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get Patrick Mahomes of the old, not Patrick Mahomes of the new. Next up, I got Brock Purdy, man. Now, the downfall is here in the championship. That's the bold prediction. Now, we seen Brock Purdy throw 4 interceptions last week. Listen, it was ugly, a nasty work. I hated seeing it, and it hurt a lot of fantasy managers. But if you manage to make it to the championship with Brock Purdy, I'm going to say it's going to continue, man. Because earlier this season, in week 7 and 8, the last time he had multiple turnovers in the game, he carried on back-to-back weeks with a total of 5 total turnovers. What I'm saying here is that it will continue against this Commanders defense. That should be a layup, but the Commanders been able to surprise a few folks here and there. I'm not saying that he'll get benched again and Sam Darnold will come in, but I'm saying he won't perform at a high ceiling here, where he may be the most hated quarterback in fantasy football this week. Shahed should cash in big this week. That is my bold prediction. He's a sleeper that should be on your radar this week going up against this Bucs defense. Now, we saw him last week show up and show out on the deep ball against the Rams on Thursday Night Football. Derek Carr actually has a healthy target share and completion percentage of 20-plus air yards when targeting Rashid Shahed. Now, the Bucs been getting smoked all season long on the deep ball. They're actually second in touchdowns allowed on 20-plus air yards, and I think this will be the bread and butter for Derek Carr and for Rashid Shahed to connect and show up big this week for a lot of fantasy managers. So if you have him on your roster for the championship, he might be creeping his way into your starting lineups. So you can go ahead and think about that. So this wraps up another great episode of RotoBaller Fantasy Sports YouTube channel. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe. We're almost at 20K, so keep hitting that subscribe button, keep hitting the like button, and I want to thank you guys for an amazing season, helping me out, helping my craft out, being accountable, and making these videos great for you guys to use for your fantasy rosters. So please make sure you guys follow me at Real Deal Fantasy on all social media platforms. Until next time.